There is so much heat in Romans 11, and I got 3 minutes to get you all of it, so let's go. Look at what Paul says in verses 5 and 6. So too, at the present time, there is a remnant chosen by grace. But if it is by grace, it is no longer on the basis of works. Otherwise, grace would no longer be grace. If our salvation was based on 99% grace and 1% works, it would still be a works-based salvation. Then Paul continues explaining how the Gentiles have now been grafted into the family of God to make Israel jealous, which is why Paul writes this in verse 14, in order somehow to make my fellow Jews jealous and thus save some of them. And he's addressing the Gentiles, which are people that believe in Jesus but are not Jewish. And he gives this beautiful depiction of two trees. And this is all addressing their Gentiles, making them aware to not become arrogant in their newfound salvation and to continue in the kindness that God has shown them by allowing them to be grafted into his salvation. And this section is just so good, I'm gonna read it all. Verses 17 to 24 say this, but if some of the branches were broken off, and you, although a wild olive shoot, were grafted in among the others and now share in the nourishing root of the olive tree, do not be arrogant toward the branches. If you are, remember it is not you who support the root, but the root that supports you. Then you will say, branches were broken off so that I might be grafted in. That is true. They were broken off because of their unbelief, but you stand fast through faith. So do not become proud, but fear. For if God did not spare the natural branches, neither will he spare you. Note then the kindness and the severity of God. Severity towards those who have fallen, but God's kindness to you, provided you continue in his kindness. Otherwise, you too will be cut off. And even they, if they do not continue in their unbelief, will be grafted in, for God has the power to graft them in again. For if you were cut from what is by nature a wild olive tree and grafted, contrary to nature, into a cultivated olive tree, how much more will these, the natural branches, be grafted back into their own olive tree? And I just love how Paul stresses both God's kindness and severity. So many people just love to focus on the kindness of God that they don't even acknowledge or have reverence anymore for the severity of him. We have to remember that he's the same God that burned down Sodom and Gomorrah, sent the plagues to Egypt, made the Jews jealous, which is what Paul is writing about here, and so much more. By remembering that he's the same God who could do all of that, but chose to send Jesus for all of humanity, Paul is stressing to never boast or have arrogance in your salvation, because in the Old Testament, Jews that had the right to salvation were cut off, so too that the Gentiles in the New Testament that we are living past today also have the ability to be cut off. So we need to have a heart posture of gratitude for God and make sure that we understand both God's kindness and severity. And remembering what we learned in yesterday's chapter, all who call on the name of Jesus will be saved. So I pray you got a lot out of this video, and I will see you tomorrow for Romans 12. God bless.